All right. Hello everybody. Been a bit since I've been live. It's been a little bit. I hate how my face looks. I just showered. My face is, there we go. That feels better to look at myself on the screen. I don't know why. I feel like I look fucking awful. Alright, I'm gonna put this there a little bit lower. Alright, let me turn on my headphones a little bit too. Alright, anyways, yeah, it's been a bit since I streamed. I've been on and off streaming SILKSONG a little bit. I really didn't end up streaming much of it, just with I don't know, with the way kind of just everything ended up being, with how busy I was. I was getting home and playing it for like 30 minutes to an hour in between like classes or in between work and stuff. There's been a few times where I've been able to sit down and like play extensively on it. But in those times, it's like I'm so exhausted from everything else. I just kind of want to play the game. I don't really feel like streaming. Yeah, it just happens, you know. If I cared more, if I wanted to actually grow a platform, I would have done it, but like that ain't me. So anyways, also really tired because just like, anyway, with the semester, everything picking up and at school, I just had our first concert of the semester on Monday. I've got another concert coming up on Sunday. I've got like all my solo individual stuff that's in the works right now. So it's just like, it's just a lot, right? Anyways, I, however, did finish SILKSONG. I will go ahead and pull up this screenshot so that y'all can see it. Let me go ahead and add it. Right here. Check that out. Yeah. This is a screenshot from when I finished. My game completion percentage 100%. I did 100%. There's only a handful of things left to get in the game that don't count towards total percentage, and they are. I've gotten half of them, but the other half I need to get. And that basically, in order to get them, it requires me to. All the other little stuff like Hunter's Journal and stuff like that, all the little memento stuff. Yeah, but 57 hour, almost 58 hours, 100%ed it though, so I was very happy with that. Anyway, turn that off. Whoop. So yeah, it was fantastic, I will say. There was also some stuff that I don't know. I think I talked a little bit in a stream a little while ago where I was like, you know, some things, like at the beginning of the game I was really frustrated, I was getting whiplash, and then everything like locked in, and I was like, wow, this is like so good. And then there were a few things towards the end of the game where I was like, this game is still a masterpiece, but some of the boss movesets and some of like the little boss things here and there were like low-key pissing me off, because some of them at the late game ended up kind of feeling like projectile spam and flying spam, especially with, okay, I'm just gonna leave it here. Major spoilers for just like the entirety of SILKSONG, right? I know in the title I said I finished SILKSONG, so we're going to talk about it. So yeah, this is major spoilers for everything in SILKSONG. So when all the enemies get voided in Act 3, and they basically all gain like 3 extra moves, right? Where they can either get the tendrils, no, 4 extra moves. They can either shoot out their tendrils at you, they can turn into flailing like saws, they can shoot out goop that turns into saws, or they can shoot like a burst of 3 to 4 projectiles at you, right? There were especially some of the bosses who end up getting voided as well. Or Act 3 specific bosses who have void were had a lot of projectiles, and I cannot say I was the biggest fan of so many projectiles all the time, you know. But it is what it is. I mean, I can't change it. And some of it was definitely me. Like, I finished the boss and I looked back on it and I was like, you know what, like, it wasn't that bad. But anyways, so speaking of the bosses, the first thing we're going to be talking about, of course, and ranking, because you know how much I love to yap while doing a tier list, is to rank stuff. So I've got our wonderful tier list here. I've got a few out today. I don't know how many I'll get to considering it's already 2 a.m. for me. But here is our first one, our SILKSONG Bosses Tier Maker. Now, before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and grab a cough drop because I will be yapping for a bit. So I think everything on here is listed in order, mostly. I mean, obviously you can do a lot of things out of order in the game. It's kind of, you know, how Metroidvania works, so go figure, right? But I think I'll probably just go in the order that the list has it in. That's a lie. I'm already looking at the bottom half of this list. I'm not finishing with the song. Usually I have lemon honey cough drops. And I ran out after the concert on Monday, and so right now I just have the normal mint ones or whatever, you know, which, like, they're fine, they do the job, they do it well, but I really do prefer the lemon honey ones. I will say I cannot do the cherry flavored ones. Like, cherry is usually like the leading flavor, not just for cough drops, for a lot of medicine. And I can't handle it because I do not like cherry flavored much of anything. There's a few flavored, like cherry flavored candy that I'm okay with because it's not very powerful cherry. Like I'm thinking of, like, I don't know, like when you have like a cherry blow pop, you know? Like, it doesn't really taste like cherry, it just tastes kind of like a red lollipop, you know? So it's like fine, but when anything tastes like strongly like cherry, I can't fuck with it. Yeah, cherry medicine, justified hate, absolutely. Honey without the lemon, that's fair, right? I like the lemon because I love everything citrus, but I can absolutely see if you just want the honey only. As long as it's not cherry though, like, I'm fine with whatever flavor. Which is actually interesting because I'm a big fan of citrus stuff. I'm also a big fan of, like, a lot of grape flavored stuff because grape is another common, like, medicine and candy flavor, you know. And my dad is like the opposite, where he cannot stand anything grape flavored, but he loves cherry flavor. And I'm like, I don't get it. Feels like Red 40. Yes, it, like, cherry does not feel like I'm, like, having something cherry flavored. It literally feels like I'm being poisoned by Red 40. Like, when I drink like cough syrup and they're like, oh sorry, we only have it in cherry flavor, I'm like, okay, so you want me to die. Like, might fix my cough, but it'll also put me, like, in a casket. Like, nah. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get started with the boss tier list before it gets too late, because I do have work tomorrow and it is 2 a.m. So let's start off with Moss Mother. I'll just go in order for the most part until I get halfway through the list, and then things start kind of getting a little wonky. Moss Mother is the first boss in the game, and I feel like they're a really good first boss in the game, right? They're kind of like Savage Vengefly in a way, but in an actually good position in the game, right? Where Savage Vengefly in Hollow Knight is like holding up Zote, and you're like 3 or 4 bosses in, and it's just kind of doing fuck all in the middle of nowhere. Moss Mother is a required one, and because of that simple moveset at the very beginning of the game, it fits really well, right? It summons a few minions, which are really easy to kill and help you get some silk back. Its attacks aren't hard to hit. It has rocks for you to dodge. And it kind of teaches you a lot of basic skills without you thinking, right? It summons minions, which a lot of bosses tend to do, so it kind of gets you used to having to deal with smaller threats while there's a big threat on the screen. It hits its head on the ceiling, which drops rocks, which also gets you used to dealing with environmental hazards during boss fights, which happens a lot more in SILKSONG than in Hollow Knight, right? When you have things like Sister Splinter summoning her, like, thorns, or you have Savage Beastfly 2 with lava and stuff like that. So, like, it really gets you acclimated to what to expect without really making you think, and I really appreciate that. However, given of course its simplicity and its place in the game and everything like that, I don't think obviously I can justify putting it anything like crazy high just because of the nature of the fight, but I think absolutely a high B tier is completely justified. And that's where I put, like, when I do a lot of tier lists, whatever like the first thing is, if it does it really well, like it's a high solid B tier, right? It can't go any higher due to the simple nature, but it accomplishes its job really well. Next up, Bell Beast. I think this one falls kind of in the same category vein, but just a little bit better. It gets you acclimated to taking 2 masks of damage from bosses. It's a little bit more varied in its moveset. This one feels like the giant moss charger from Hollow Knight, but just more fleshed out. Like both of these feel like these little shit bosses from Hollow Knight, but actually in the right places and more fleshed out where they should be, right? Song is quiet. Why is the music so quiet? I don't like that. There you go. So I'd probably put it low A. Also, just Ada gets some brownie points for being so adorable, right? And just kind of the whole twist on like it's trapped and you want to save it, and then you save it, but then you fight it, but then you think it's dead, but then it's actually like gonna be your companion the whole game. Like, it works. Sequel actually being a sequel, yes. No, I love, like, it just builds on the previous mechanic so well, and like for those little shitling bosses in Hollow Knight, like they were fine and all, but they were just like, why didn't you make these like one of the first bosses? It's Vengeful Life King does not feel like a boss, you know. But when you put Moss Mother at the beginning, that feels like a boss, you know. Lace 1. Lace 1 is really good. It's obviously not the highest S tier. There's more to go, but for being you know what, actually it is going to be peak of A. I think already thinking ahead on my list for some other S's, I think it might be my gatekeep to S, I don't know, right? But it's really good. Very an extremely varied move set. There we go. I can talk. Yep, I went to kindergarten. Yeah, it just has a, oh sorry, hit my mic. It has a really varied moveset, which is really good, but it's still very simple with the directions that it kind of takes, the angles that it uses. It's literally just straight directions or 45-degree angles, which really you're accustomed to from having done pogos that long, right? It's still kind of difficult. Has some really fucking cool attacks, just as all like the ore, like fighting over that lake of lava, meeting Lace, who's like the super hyped up character and everything like that. And especially being your third boss in the game, like Moss Mother and Bell Beast, while like they could potentially, but depending on how good you are, could potentially be like maybe a little bit difficult, but they're mostly easy. I mean, I didn't have trouble with them, but I've seen other streamers and YouTubers who did. So everyone has a different skill level, you know, but like those are relatively simple bosses, and you get to Lace, who still is like a simple boss, but with not the most simple move set, right? And I really like that. It actually is like the first real challenge of a boss fight in the game, I would say, you know. Next up, Fourth Chorus. I really like Fourth Chorus. I think it's really cool. I will say, I guess I should talk about it right now. So in Hollow Knight, a lot of the times, like the way the bosses are set up are set as you go explore through an area and you get to the end and there's a boss there and you kill the boss and it drops a reward, right? And that's how it is in Hollow Knight. A lot of the bosses in some of the bosses in SilkSong still do that, right? But there's also a big handful of bosses here in SilkSong that are, you defeat them not to earn the reward, but to earn the rite of passage of progression, you know? It's not like going out of your way for Brooding Moloch and to get a mask shard. It's, you know, I have to beat Fourth Chorus in order to literally progress the game. You could think of it maybe like as a reverse, right? You get the reward before the boss, right? You get the Drifter's Cloak before you beat Fourth Chorus. So maybe it's just a reversal of the typical order, right? But you could argue it either way. It's just overall just a difference in boss philosophy that SilkSong has. A lot more bosses either to guard progression, guard an area, rather than to be at the end of a progression area, you know? which I think is interesting. I think it's something a lot of people struggled with though at the very beginning, because we're so acclimated, not just in Hollow Knight, but in a lot of games, right? You get to an area, you explore an area, and at the end there's a boss you beat to get the reward, right? That's how it is in 99% of games. So having bosses that aren't designed like that really messes with your instincts. And so I think that's something not only I, but a lot of people struggled with at the beginning of the game, because you would beat a boss and you would feel accomplished because you did beat a challenging boss, but then you wouldn't feel rewarded for being challenged because you weren't immediately handed out like a mask shard or 100 rosaries or something like that. You were just instead handed the next area to get to, you know? So yeah, I guess it's definitely something I had to come to terms with and realize. And it's not horrible, because the game still gives you a lot of rewards from other bosses, or just rewarding you for exploration a lot, right? I'll say that, like, Hollow Knight definitely rewards you for exploring to find the boss. Silksong rewards you just for exploring, period, right? There's so many places more in Silksong that you can go to and just explore to find something, rather than in Hollow Knight where you explore to get to your next boss that guards your reward, right? So it's just different, but I really like it for what it is. I think it's a necessary departure from the standard, to make Silksong really feel like its own game, as opposed to just Hollow Knight the sequel, you know? Anyway, now that I've gotten off that soapbox, let's go back to Fourth Course, because I think Fourth Course is a pretty good A tier boss. It's got a very simple moveset, right? It either smashes the platforms you're standing on, it swipes its hand across, or it hits the ceiling to drop rocks. It kind of feels like a little bit harder of a Moss Mother, really, right? Moss Mother sweeps across the stage, Moss Mother hits the ceiling to drop rocks, right? The only difference is Fourth Course will destroy your platforming, whereas Moss Mother will take up your platforming with minions, right? But in essence, it's very similar. I will say Fourth Course just has a lot more spectacle and aura, especially because it uses a different animation style than most of the rest of the game. I also think it's really cool that it utilizes the ability you just got by letting you defeat the boss by going up the airways on the sides and hitting the exploding rocks on top to crush the Fourth Course. I think it's really, really cool. And it's just a really awesome spectacle that was really fun. Savage Beastfly. Man, do I even need to say anything? I'll have you know, I'm part of an online group called Fuck Savage Beastfly, and I think that should tell you everything you need to know about how I feel about this boss. It belongs in F tier. Yeah. I just cannot fathom with it. And it's so crazy, because even now, after 100%ing the whole game, I still think it's dog shit. I know there's some bosses that I definitely fought and I was like, man, fuck that boss. But then I played and I reminisced on it and I thought, and I was like, you know what? No, it wasn't actually that bad. It was me. Now this one, they just fuck Savage Beastfly, man. His hitbox is janky, and it pisses me off even more because his moveset is simple. But because of his janky hitbox and all of his shitty minions that he summons way too often, who some of them deal double massive damage as well, it just frustrates me to no end. In that tiny ass room too. Like, fuck this. Fuck this boss. Warwing. I think Warwing's fine. I actually don't have many strong opinions about this. I put it below Moss Mother because I think Moss Mother gets a lot of bonus points for being such a good introductory boss, right? Warwing, on the other hand, doesn't get those extra points because it's obviously not an introductory boss. It's just kind of a solid boss overall. It has a relatively simple moveset. It's got like 3 or 4 attacks, and the only thing that changes in phase 2 is that when it shoots out some of those wind blades, it shoots out 2 instead of 1, right? It doesn't vary too much between its phases. It's not like the easiest thing to kill because it's flying, but it's not the hardest either. I mean, it's just kind of a boss, and he's all right. He just kind of blocks away to Bellheart, but like aside from that, like, I don't know. I don't feel too much for him. Sister Splinter. That's our first S of the day. I love this fight, and it's weird because it's also like it falls in the category of like that Savage Beast fight where it summons a little minion guy who can deal some like big damage with its blades. But those ones were so much easier to kill in this fight as opposed to this one. And I did the Savage Beast fight after Sister Splinter. I just poke it on them 2 or 3 times and they were dead. Or you can alternatively knock them into spikes and they die. Or they can get killed by Sister Splinter's own shooting of her own thorns, right? So yeah, I think it's really well done. The whole mechanics of it with the summoning the thorn walls that you can kind of break down and hit are really cool. The attacks are they hit hard, but they're pretty well telegraphed and you can pretty easily learn what to do. It's just kind of a really cool balance between knock out the minion, break the thorn wall, hit Sister Splinter, rinse and repeat, you know? And it does this balance really well, as opposed to something like Savage Beastfly, where you're having to juggle, hit the minion, hit Savage Beastfly, dodge this, but because of the constraints of the room and the quantity of the minions that it summons, it doesn't feel balanced. Whereas this one feels really well balanced, and it feels like a really nice fight. Widow is also so good. This one is so good, and it's so interesting too, because it only gets better the more you play the game, right? When you fight Grandmother Silk and you fight First Sinner, Widow only looks better in hindsight, because similarly to Moss Mother, it sets you up so well for future success by using attacks that are reminiscent of attacks that you will face on later in the game with fights like literally the final boss of Act 2, or First Sinner, which is like the secret boss of Act 2, right? It just sets you up so well. It also teaches you a lot of good skills about your positioning in the stage, right? I think you can get away a lot with positioning on some of these other fights before. I mean, not Savage Beastfly, because fuck that guy, his room's too small for it. But a lot of these you can kind of get away with loose positioning. You can get away with not being as aggressive. You can get away with maybe face tanking a little bit more, right? You know, the closest you get is like avoiding Lace's big circle in her fight, or not falling in the lava for 4th course, or not getting hit by a thorn wall in Sister Splinter. But like most of the time you can adjust to those, right? You just move a little out of the way, you break the wall, you stay on any of the other platforms for 4th course. Like it's not a big deal. But then you get to Widow and it's dropping bells all over the place, or you're having to jump over the bell spikes it springs out. You're having to manage yourself around her fury swipes. Like there's a lot you have to position yourself around with in this battle, and it feels really, really good teaching you this, on top of it being a really good fight that teaches you a lot of game mechanics to come. It's just like everything sets you up for success in the future, on top of it being such a fun and good fight with lore implications too. So it's like it has this whole package locked in, and I think because of that, Widow is just so good. Skull Tyrant. He's whatever. I have nothing to say on this guy. He's just a big skull charger. He's got 3 attacks. You just kind of hit him a bunch and he dies. I mean, it's... I don't have anything to say on this guy. Last Judge. I like this one a lot, actually. I'm going to put this in A. Thank God I did not get hit by that giant explosion that it does at the end, like a lot of people did, I know. I feel really bad for y'all. Whoever got hit by Last Judge's final explosion when she died. Oh. That was not me. Couldn't be me though. I really like the fight. It definitely was probably the biggest curve of Act 1, which makes sense because you have to make sure you're ready for Act 2. But definitely it curves. Let me formulate my thoughts before I keep yapping. Their moveset is really varied as well, and changes dynamically in between phases, which is something that hasn't happened too much with most of the previous bosses. The most you have is some little bit different attacks, faster attacks with Widow, but most everything hasn't been too crazy in its second phase. But Last Judge definitely adjusts dynamically in her moveset in her second phase. On top of that, it takes a lot of things that you learn from Widow and makes you apply them in their fight, right? Hence the positioning that you learn, that you have to do from Widow, you have to really apply that for Last Judge, right? Being adjusted to dynamically changing second phase with faster attacks, something you have to apply for Last Judge. It's all these things. Another reason why Widow is so good. All these things that you just learned from Widow, you have to begin applying immediately after to Last Judge, and it works really, really well. I'd say I don't think it goes in the S tier for me. It's not that she does anything bad not to get an S tier, but she doesn't do anything really fantastic to get an S tier, right? Our S tier so far is like Widow, who's so peak, and then Sister Splinter, who just has that perfect balance of synergy between balancing on the mechanics in the fight. Last Judge is just really a test of endurance and positioning, but just ends up working out really well. Alright, moving on, that is Act 1. I think I'm gonna go ahead and rearrange a few of these guys here in I'll rearrange the Act 3 ones when we get there. Let's just go ahead with Act 2. Let me see if I need to rearrange anything in Act 2 though. I put Lace 2, Grandmother Silk here for Sinner as well. Yeah, that's fine. Alright. Cogwork Dancers. These are, like, I think overall, objectively, I think overall Widow is probably better in the total package. Not only because, like, I think Widow's a weaker boss fight itself than Cogwork Dancers, but due to the teaching of mechanics and the lore that Widow carries with her, the whole package places above Cogwork Dancers. But Cogwork Dancers not only having the better just boss fight as a whole, but the cinematics and the emotion, the aura behind the boss fight is so much more impactful than Widow's, in my opinion. And the boss fight just like personally, on a personal level, just clicks so well compared to, like, Widow's clicked, but Cogwork Dancers was like, that was flow state right there. Like, I felt like I could have done that boss fight for hours. Like, it was so good. It was so fun. It was so cool. Like, just everything about it is just so spectacular. It's just such a marvel. It's just so peak. It's S plus million bajillion, and I do not know if anything will dethrone it. We'll get there when we get there, but I don't see anything being better than the Cogwork Dancers. It's just so peak. Okay, Savage Beastfly 2. How the fuck did you make it worse than the first? I genuinely cannot fathom how they managed to do it. Savage Beastfly was already bad enough, and they were like, what if we put it over lava and it destroyed the platforming? And they also, instead of just having 1 out of 3 little summons that can deal 2 massive damage, what if all the summons dealt 2 massive damage and they sniped your ass with lava that also stayed on the platforms and lingered, which took up even more of your space? It's just so fucking awful. How do they make it so much worse? Like, you know what? Fuck Savage Beastfly 2. Fuck this. You get the G tier. You get the fucking G tier. I'm breaking out the G tier for you. I hate Savage Beastfly and I despise Savage Beastfly 2. Fuck you, you little shit. Anyways. Skull Tyrant 2. I move it up because it has the whole cinematics of attacking you when you're completely unprepared at bottom and fucking up the whole place. It's not any different of a fight though, but the aura and the style just gives it a little nudge up to be. Big old conch fly dudes. I don't know, what is there anything to say on this one? Like, they're whatever. They conch and fly. They summon a few conch fly stuff. Actually, I put a D tier. They're just not even memorable. Like, they're just a roadblock in to get to the finishes, and that's Going earlier when I talked about like when you have bosses that are meant to just be a roadblock or progression, right? They can lose their sense of meaning or purpose or value. Hey, happy Tuesday to you too. But like bosses like these can lose their sense of value and purpose when you have stuff like Lace or like Fourth Chorus, right? They don't drop really a reward, but they block your progression, like progression that you have to do, right? They block mandatory progression. The Great Contrives, on the other hand, don't really block any mandatory progression. I don't think anything behind them is mandatory. So it's just like it kind of ends up losing its value because it's like who cares? They're just in the way, and you beat them, they're like okay, like and so yeah, it's just kind of yeah. Streams well, thank you for asking. So anyway, I'll put them in D. I will say, you know, I'll go ahead and rank the other Great Contrive. I think this one goes, what? That's for center. Great Contrive. The solo Great Contrive I think is a little bit better. I think it has a little bit more impact now that the first one's dead and it's really feeling enraged because of the whole thing. It's also a necessary roadblock to get to actual other progression and stuff like that. And I think the moveset in the boss fight is a lot cooler too. The first one's just a big two guys kind of going in and out of the walls. This second one is a lot cooler with like, not only does he go in and out of the walls much at a quicker pace, but he also summons like little bullet hell sections with all of his minions, and I think it bumps it up a little for me. Massive moss charger. Double moss mothers. I think this one's fine. I've seen some people really hate this one, like really struggle with it. I beat it first attempt. Maybe I got lucky, or maybe I'm just a fucking gamer sent from the heavens. I don't fucking know. I will say, I think I played the game above average. Just seeing what people are struggling on or how long people are taking to do certain bosses. I think I'm definitely above average. I'm definitely not the best. Like when I watch some people play it, like when I watch like Blue SR, like Fireborn play stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not them. But I can also watch some stuff like Small Ant or Point Crow, and I can be like, okay, I'm definitely like playing better than them for a solid amount of the time, right? Anyways, so all that to say, I think like I just kind of locked in for that one, and it felt pretty well to me. Not as high as the other one because I think the other one just holds a lot more weight, of course, as I said earlier, with its teaching on mechanics. But this one just kind of tests you on your learning of those said mechanics. So it's pretty good. Fly Mom, whatever this is, I think nothing of it. It was a means to an end to complete a quest. Her moveset was annoying. The boss arena was annoying. It was no Savage Beast Fly, but it was just kind of annoying and tedious. That's all I gotta say for it. Trobio! That's an S tier if I ever fucking saw one. He's an S tier alone for his fucking aura, for his fucking pizzazz, for his grandeur. He is S tier alone. But on top of that, I definitely played the fight like dog shit when I first was playing it and learning it, and I was getting upset with it. I was like, what the fuck am I, blah, blah, blah. That was definitely on me. Yeah, I really like this guy. He's really cool. His movesets are varied, but they're pretty easy to learn. I say the only thing is you really have to, again, be aware of your positioning. You really have to be conscious about the projectiles, what's going on around you, while also keeping track of where he is on the screen. So really test those skills, and it's cool. Next up, the infamous Grohl the Great from the infamous land of Biowater. A lot of people hate this guy because they associate him with the run back. I don't want to associate him with the run back because we'll talk about areas as a whole later. Grohl, however, I think is B. A lot of people put him lower, and let me tell you why I think it's B. the build up to the actual fight itself, right, where you kind of have a little tiny gauntlet of enemies to go through, I actually kind of like having it there. It's not super long, but it helps me get my silk back because I've expended a lot of it on the run back, and especially if I've fallen in the maggot water and I had to use some of my silk to get rid of it, getting silk back from the little gauntlet can really help to either heal myself, get rid of maggot water, or just stock up. Also, people play this fight in one of two ways. They either really struggle, they constantly fall in the maggot water, they're trying to avoid all of his attacks, trying to avoid getting sucked into his mouth, are just kind of overall having a bad time with positioning in the fight. Or you play it like I did and many others did, where when he starts sucking in, you jump directly into his mouth and beat the shit out of him from the inside, and then just heal when you get back out. For context, I of course played with the Hunter's Crest all the way up until Greymore, and I got the Reaper Crest, and I used the Reaper Crest exclusively from then on, because I was like, the pogo just clicked in my mind so much more, and I liked the extra added effect of when you healed you could get silk out of enemies, right? I really liked that. When I got to Grohl, and I was like, well, why don't I jump in his mouth and hit him from the inside out? Reaper Crest attacks really slowly, but I also had the Wanderer Crests, and Wanderer Crest attacks really, really quickly. So I switched to Wanderer Crest in order to just hit him really quick from the inside out. And I never ever touched Reaper Crest again after that, actually, because Wanderer Crest just ended up working out so much better, feeling so much nicer. It felt quicker, it felt snappier and sharper. The pogo felt a little bit better. And despite not having, you know, an extra red tool, or not having, what's the word I'm looking for? Not having the benefits of getting silk after you heal, all that was made up for by just the DPS and the ease of use and just how much better it felt comparatively. So yeah. And so then I would only end up switching between that and Architect Crest, and never really touching the Reaper Crest again. So I have respect for Grohl for getting me off Reaper Crest, because that's everyone's biggest crutch throughout most of the game. A lot of people get on Reaper Crest and can never get themselves off of it, and it's the biggest crutch because it ends up just giving up less returns the more you progress throughout the acts. So yeah. Also, with the whole tactic of just jumping in his mouth, hitting him a bunch, and then getting out and healing, and then kind of just dodging everything else and then going back in his mouth and hitting him, and like that one worked so well, and he actually was not that difficult. I think I beat him like second or third try. It was my second or third try overall, but it was the first attempt that I had just jumped in his mouth and hit him from the inside out, and it just worked. So he's pretty cool. Doesn't really place any higher though. Kitchen Cookie Cook. Put your top of C. You're kind of funny, you're kind of goofy, he throws his ass around to hit you and all that stuff. But I don't really like him using maggot water attacks, and he's pretty basic and all of his stuff, right? You're just kind of, it's also just kind of a means to an end to get the quest for the gourmand and the pale oil and all that stuff, right? So it is what it is. Now to our final three of Act 2. From what I'm saying, yes, no. I beat you in Act 2. I beat you in Act 2, but you could be Act 1 as well. The rest of you, you're in Act 2, boss. Okay, yeah, that's it. Let's talk about this guy first. He's annoying. This little doctor guy in the white ward. Yeah, I was gonna say White Parish, and I was like, that is Ender Lilies. That's a different Metroidvania. White Ward, my bad. This guy's just annoying. He just takes his hitbox is so fucking huge, and you can't pogo him because he's got that gold plating on, so you can only hit him from the side. But you just don't have all those opportunities. I ended up just placing a bunch of poison tacks on the ground, and he would run over them. And then I'd fill them back up with Architect Crest and do that again. And do that while just kind of dodging his silk spears and beating the crap out of his other guys. But it was just kind of like, he's just kind of annoying, man. It's kind of the same thing with the Fly Mom or whatever this thing is. Like, there's just big guys in small rooms who are just annoying, but they're not like Savage Beastfly annoying where they summon minions at the same time, so they get to stay in D tier instead of F, right? Phantom, I think is S, They are really, really good. Gave me my favorite Silk skill is Cross Stitch. I love Cross Stitch. I love the parry, so it gets bonus points for that. Also, it just feels like a really good in-between for Lace 1 and Lace 2. Really cool mechanics, great zoning with the pipe organ. I mean, great theming and just aura of the whole cinematic of the fight, of you going through the mist and realizing it was a fog for the organ, going up through all the pipes in the building and then getting to them. Just super cool. Their attacks are very fluid, they're very quick and snappy, and it's one of the first bosses that really makes you be aggressive. And this is probably my next soapbox that I'll talk about in a couple bosses. But there's a lot of the bosses thus far you could get through by treating them as tests of endurance, right? Dodge around a lot, get a few hits in here or there, dodge around some more, get a few hits in here or there. You could just take your time with it, right? Phantom is one of those first ones because of how quick their kit is, especially in their final phase. You are not going to get all those hits in, or you can't really treat it like that test of endurance because you need to be aggressive in order to even hit them, because their window of punish is so small and so quick that you have to be aggressive in order to attain it. And I'll talk about that more in just a minute. But I'm going to talk about the Cogwork Automaton. I think they're really cool. I'll probably put them here in A. I like them a lot. It's nothing crazy. They have a pretty simple moveset. They were pretty fun to fight. I mostly just like it this much because I really love the whole story arc, right? You put them together, you revive them, and they're stuck to kind of this task, but that they're trying to carry out dutifully because it's in their core, but they're not really sure. And they kind of kill stuff around the place and help you until you encounter them enough and you fight them, and they're not really sure like if you're controlled by the haunting or not, and they're trying to free it, and they fight you and realize you're not, but they're expecting to duel to the death, but then you don't, and y'all are like, nah, like, we're chill, we're friends, man, like, we're just gonna be besties, you know? Like, I really like that whole story arc, so it gets up here in mid-A for me. First Sinner. I'm gonna put this above Widow. This is kind of like the Cogwork Dancers thing, right? Where I think as an entire package, I think Widow is a little bit better. But First Sinner, I love just the whole lore implications, the whole hidden like secretness of it. And this is the boss that made me get aggressive. I actually didn't fight Phantom for a bit. I didn't realize Phantom was there for a while. And I actually fought them at the very end of Act 2. So I ended up fighting First Sinner before. And this was the boss that really made me realize that I'm going to have to be playing a lot more aggressive from here on out, right? First Sinner, you cannot play passive on this one. It zones so much. It will keep you away. It shoots so many silk spear threads at you. It zones so much with all of its AoE explosions, and if it's away from you, it will bind and kind of, I think, heal itself, because it'll zone you away from it, and it will just prolong the battle. It will keep you away. You can't get a hit because it's constantly teleporting. The only way you can do it is if you are aggressive. You have to be super aggressive to go in there and just get it, but you can't face tank. You can't face tank aggressive. You have to actually be smart and aggressive. And this is the first fight in the game that really made me have to lean all the way into doing that. And at first, I was like, what the fuck? Because I like to play games safe. I like to play as tests of endurance. I like to, like, you know, make sure I'm doing my safe move, my optimal options. And this battle wouldn't let me do it. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is annoying. This fucking stupid, blah, blah. And then then you figure it out what you have to do, and you go, oh, you adjust, it clicks, and it's just so good from there on. Also, this is, what song is this? Da, da, da. Craggy Coast. This is song 30 from the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorer Society soundtrack. This is like my favorite song in the whole soundtrack. I love this song. Da, 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 da. I love this song. Anyway, Lace 2. Lace 2 is just really cool. Ways 2 is just really cool. Yeah, probably here. It just has the spectacle, of course, because it's what you see from the trailer, and you're like, holy shit, it's that moment, you know. But even outside of that, just I love the color palette in this fight. All the blues and golds on the edges, but you're fighting amongst those pale white roses. It's so cool. Lace's attacks are just such a well-built extension of her base moveset. It's literally just her base moveset, but they just have extra added on effects, or just like an extra extension of the move. It's just so well made. It's just such a good step up. Perfect difficulty level for you need to be in that game. It's a real good test of where you should be at in your skill level at that point. It's a good roadblock if you aren't at that skill level yet. It's just a really well crafted fight. Yeah, and of course you like at this point, like, you have to have your good position in your boss fight. You have to play aggressive on this one like you did for First Sinner. Not as aggressive, but because of how fast Lace is, combined with the extra additions to her moveset that's there, right? And her first battle, it was kind of just a simple moveset, like dodge the nail and then punish immediately after. Lace 2, you have to dodge the nail, but she also zones a lot more. She has a little bit more AoE, a little bit more maneuverability around the stage, and so you have to be a lot more careful about her zoning, which makes you have to play a little bit more aggressive, which is kind of what First Sinner teaches you, if you did that before Lace, of course. So I think it's just really cool overall. Really well made fight, and a really good penultimate to the end of Act 2, which of course is Grandmother Silk. I will say, Grandmother Silk, not an S tier. High A, really cool. Not an S tier. I feel for everything that happened in the game, I feel like Grandmother Silk wasn't that built up, you know? I don't know, it's something about when she popped out and it said Grandmother Silk, and I was just kind of like, okay, cool. Like, it didn't have that impact, it didn't have that oomph for me, you know? The fight itself, I honestly like First Sinner's a lot more, because First Sinner made me play super aggressive. Grandmother Silk had a lot of First Sinner's moveset in concept, but I could play it a lot more like that Battle of Endurance, right? The first phase is really simple, with just like you have the threaded, like the spears coming at you, you have a claw swipe attack, and you have some of the AoE stuff where it's like, if you get, she summons the threads, if you get caught in them, she will deal big damage to you, right? It's kind of similar in spirit to First Sinner, where it's, you know, Silk Spear threads, a big kind of AoE zoning attack with First Sinner had all the circles, Grandmother Silk has the threads, and then First Sinner has those fury swipes where Grandmother Silk has the big swooping claw. Like, it's similar in spirit, except you really had to play a lot more aggressive and a lot more better with First Sinner than Grandmother Silk felt easier for sure, right? Second phase is a little bit more interesting, where they summon stage hazards, right? You start getting rocks falling, you start getting spikes on the ground, but you can make the spikes go away by hitting them, which a lot of people don't know, but yeah, you can hit them and they will just move out the way, so they're not really a big deal. You can also just benefit from them by going off of them at times. Grandmother Silk starts combining some of her attacks. She will do multiple things of the spears in a row, and then she'll top it off with like a swipe, and you have to like dodge the swipe while also dodging the dropping spears. Like, it's pretty well made and it's well balanced. It's really good and it's fun. It just doesn't get to that S tier for me. And then of course you finish the fight depending on what your progression is, depending on how much you've completed, what you've set up before, whether, well, you know, depending on whether you just end it at Act 2 or go to Act 3. Speaking of Act 3, we've got all the Act 3 bosses left, and I'm going to rearrange some of these guys. Yeah, Here. Alright, I think I'm pretty happy with this order. Okay, this is about the order I want. I put all the kind of hearts at the end with their mini bosses before them, and the other ones in front. Okay, Bell Eater. I didn't actually care for much for this guy. I thought the whole fight, like the ending of the fight, was super hype when like Belbeast comes in and kills them, and then she's like, "Here are my babies," and it's super cute and adorable. The fight itself, though, I really could not care for. I'm actually gonna put it lower because I didn't actually like it all that much. It feels awkward. It feels like it's like almost there but not quite, right? Like the way that the red like goo shoots out is just kind of in a weird pattern. The red bouncy goo feels like it shoots out just kind of in an awkward way. The places where the head and tail spawn can just be super awkward at times. The part where he like swims in the ground and drops bells from the ceiling is fine. That one's good. But yeah, it's just a bit weird. And sometimes when you're close to like the head part, it's hard to tell whether he's about to flail his claws or if he's about to wind up for a shot, because the animation where he was about to wind up to start shooting the red goo or where he's winding up to just start flailing are very similar, so you kind of just end up going for the butt the whole time anyway. It just kind of just feels kind of like an awkward fight. Like it kind of just feels like it needs to be a little bit better coded so that the positioning for the head and the tail places are just not so awkward, you know. Zalgo, he's kind of a nothing to me too, but it's not even this. Like, this guy did not feel like a boss to me. I walked up to him with the plasmium blood drainer file thing, whatever you have for that other quest, and I just drained him a bunch. He didn't feel like a boss. He just felt like a walking plasmium blood container for me. To say this without any implications, I sucked him dry, and nothing more, nothing less. So yeah, I just have nothing to say on him. He didn't really feel like a boss, but it's not annoying like these two were. So Forge Brothers, these guys were cool. They were a little bit annoying at first, but that was because I got to the area way too early. I got to this area in Act 2 and was not ready for it, because I kind of rushed to get some of the upgrades. I skipped in Act 2. I kind of went around exploring, trying to get as many upgrades as I could. So I got like my double jump and all that kind of stuff like way early, you know, because I got the claw line really early. It's like I got a lot of stuff early because I wanted to get all the upgrades and abilities and things that I could before I really started cracking down on all the big bosses and all this stuff like that. So I got these guys way earlier than I was intended, probably, and just got my ass kicked a bunch. So then I came back to them, and it felt a lot better. They're fun. They work really well together as a duo boss. Like, you could tell they were coded as a duo boss really well because their attacks are really well placed and really well zoned. They'll wait for each other to give you opportunities where you can properly have a place to go safely, but it's definitely a window of positioning that you have to be smart about, because they can definitely catch you off guard if you are not like keeping your eyes on the area and on both of them and what their attacks are doing. I think it's really well made, really good duo boss, but just doesn't play super high because they are just a pretty simple duo boss. All things considered, they don't have a lot of variance or a lot of moves, and once you take out one, the fight's free after that. This little Volt guy that you get the Volt filament from feels a lot like Zalgo as well. Kind of just felt like a means to an end. I just killed this thing. I didn't get hit by it a single time. I thought it was just kind of a thing. I didn't realize it was a boss until afterwards. I just thought it was some like one-off enemy, but I killed it and got the Volt filament and was like, cool, that's where you get it. Awesome. And that was really it. So it kind of feels like Salgo, where it's like a means to an end. It was fine enough, but I have no thoughts on it, right? But I placed it above because I didn't get hit, and I think just the way the fight turned out was a lot cooler than just kind of draining this guy like 4 or 5 times, as opposed to actually getting up and hitting this guy. Pinterest. Pinterest is cool. She's just fun. Only got a handful of basic attacks, but they're actually very depending on her positioning on your screen. And they can be a little hard to dodge sometimes because the AI at this point in the game is starting to get really smart. It's like earlier in the game you could tell they were input reading, and at some point in the game they start mind reading with some of this shit. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, just overall pretty decent. It's a good skill check, and it's not mandatory, so it's not like you have to go through with it or not, but it's just really good overall. And yeah, and then you get the little tool. The Crawfather. This guy's just funny. This guy's just funny. This whole like getting cross summons, having to go to court, and then you like fight a bunch of them, and then you fight this dude, and you just beat the shit out of him and all his little cronies, or cronies, I should say. I'm so fucking funny. Please laugh, IRL. Anyways, but yeah, he's just really funny. It's just a really fun fight. It's just goofy, and yeah, I love it. Lost Garmond. This one's just sad. I was really sad about this one. And I looked it up afterwards, and apparently he won't get Lost to Void if you like defeat a bunch of the dark cards like really quickly after the act begins, but like I had no idea. So yeah, it's just kind of really sad. RIP the boy. Still though, I think he's top of B. This is one of those bosses of Act 3 that just kind of starts feeling a lot like projectile spam and doesn't feel too much fun. It just kind of shoots a bunch of globs on the ground, shoots a bunch of globs directly at you, kind of snaps you from off screen with some of those if you're trying to like run away and heal and come back or anything. Sometimes it can just like point blank you with like a million massive damage if you get caught up in too much of them. His base moveset without the void stuff isn't super interesting either. He kind of either charges or flails around, both of which are really easy to deal with and really easy to dodge. It's just kind of a... like, the fight is really carried by its emotional weight and its story beats as opposed to the mechanics of the boss fight itself. Which is why it ends up in B. Trobio 2! I actually like this one quite a bit less than Trobio 1. It has the same aura and everything, but it feels a little bit over the top because personally, and I know some people had this issue with it as well, with how much flashing is on it and how much screen shaking there is combined with this fight, my eyes can't actually keep up with it. I had to turn off a lot of settings to get to this fight to work for me. I just couldn't keep up with all the flashing lights and the screen shaking. It was really bothering me, and not just bothering me like, wow, this is annoying, but bothering me is like I legitimately I can't fight this boss with all this happening. It's messing with my eyes too much, so which that definitely takes it down a lot. Also just it's, I don't know, it feels like it also should be really well done, like, you know, like Lace 2 just takes Lace's base kit and just expands on it. Trobio 2 takes Trobio's base kit and expands on it, but it doesn't feel as good as Lace 2 to Lace 1 does, you know? Trobio 1 just felt a lot more fun and fair, whereas Trobio 2 kind of just feels like, it feels like that whole Moon Knight thing where he says random bullshit go and he throws a bunch of stuff, you know? It's like, that's kind of how it feels, and they're just like, okay, I guess I just gotta deal with a bunch of bullshit. Let me turn down all my settings so I can actually see what's happening and my eyes don't die, you know? So, he's alright, but it is what it is. This dude, this like keeper or whatever guy, he's fine. He was kind of whatever. He was a little bit weird because he just had so much like horizontal movement, sometimes out of nowhere, and I can never tell like whether he was like, if he just jump up and slam down, whether he was gonna come down right here, or whether he was gonna go up and come down way over here, or you know, his trajectories could be really wonky. It's not like he was hard of a fight, it was just kind of more frustrating to kind of just deal with figuring out where the hell his trajectory was going. He was also kind of annoying to fight because he can block a lot of attacks. And there's a few bosses, a few enemies even in Act 3 that can just block your attacks sometimes. Except this happened way too often. He was blocking like everything in a punish window. And I was like, dude, like, this is not my punish window. Like, can I ever fucking hit you, bro? So it just kind of was annoying. Anyway, sorry. Coral King, on the other hand, though, I fuck with this boss heavy. This was also a first try boss for me, but it was like locked into the flow state. I just love how it progresses. At first, it's just like, boom, big giant spikes wherever I'm pointing, directed down, I'm jumping all over the place, boom, spikes everywhere. And then he's like, okay, and now spikes like appear from the sides of the stage. And also now I'm doing this, and spikes from the sides, and I'm jumping around here, and now spikes are coming down from ceiling, and then also this, and then it would slowly get faster and faster and faster. It just built so well. It felt so cool. It felt really good. It was a really great way to end off the Coral Tower, which is another section that I loved. Which is kind of funny because a lot of the gauntlets in the game, I was like, oh, I don't really fuck with these gauntlets all that much, but the Coral Tower felt really good and really well made and balanced, which as it should, because it's kind of like a major story point, you know. But anyway, Seth is really cool. Oop, I just right clicked, I didn't mean to do that. Seth is going over here with Trobio. He's just really fun. He seems like he has a simple kit, but it's deceptively simple. It's actually quite varied and difficult, and he can very fluidly move from one move to another. That if you position yourself to try and move one a little too early, he will adapt and change up what move he's about to do and did something else. He's pretty tough to kind of figure out, but once you do, the boss kind of locks in. And it's not too much of a challenge, but there's a little bit of learning curve right at the beginning. But he's very fun, very cool. I love just kind of I love his design. I love his whole deal with like guarding the entrance there. You can see all the dead choir members. I don't really know around him though. It's fun. It's cool. Nihilith, though, I wasn't a big fan of Nihilith. I'm sorry, chat. Like, at the beginning, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, she's on one here, and I go over here, and I hit her, and then I dot bullet hell, and I move from one side stage to the other, and I move. And then it gets to the part of the fight where it takes out the bottom of the floor, and the arena gets wider. And it's not the fact that the floor is gone. I really don't care about that. It's that the sides of the walls actually get a little bit wider, and it's just wide enough to make traversing around the stage to get her or move away from her really awkward. Just enough to make it really awkward. And because of that, it ended up being really frustrating at points. And it was just, yeah, there was just a lot of moments where I was like, this is kind of dumb, why'd I get hit by that? Or like, I literally cannot physically get to the other side of the stage in time because it's like 2 little inches too wide. It would have been fine if it had stayed the same width that it was before. Or I'm just like, well, I'm stuck on this side of the screen, I can't really do anything for like a minute while she does these attacks, and before I get it's kind of just awkward. So yeah. Moving on to the Lonesome Hunter. This one's really fun because you go on like this whole quest to track down Gilly's thing, and he actually had been luring you the whole time. He traps you in, does his traps. That said though, the fight itself is definitely a whatever burger. He kind of just jumps up and makes a bunch of traps. You just hit the shit out of him while he's in the air, and then when he goes back underground, you hit all his traps and break them, and it's rinse and repeat until it's done. It's a really easy fight. It's the cool part is just the whole tracking and then getting trapped yourself. Once the fight starts, it's kind of just like whatever. Scar Singer. This one's really cool, but it is probably here for me. I was gonna say lowest, but it's actually about here. Big learning curve on this one. This was the first heart that I did in the Act 3, the first heart that I did. And this one was a really big learning curve. The gauntlet wasn't bad at all, but getting in this one, she moves extremely quickly, so you have to play really aggressive like I did for First Sinner, which I hadn't really done in a little bit since like Lace 2. So yeah, it's like being like, oh shit, like I gotta lock in for that. But her attacks hit hard and they're super varied. They change a lot between Act 1 and 2. The angles at the stuff that she throws off, it feels like she's reading my fucking mind where I'm about to be, like seeing the fucking future. Yeah, this one definitely took a lot longer than most of the bosses that I had fought up until that point. I think all of the bosses that I fought until that point took less time than this one. This one took me, and most of the bosses, and I'll say this, every boss, like, not everybody, most bosses have taken me like 1 session. Scar took me 3, which was, there were some that had taken 2, but never 3. And I'm not talking like 3 like several hour sessions, but like when I play for like 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes a little bit more, and she took me like 3 to my 3rd session to beat her, which hadn't happened for anything. So yeah, definitely really hard. And this is one of those that I was talking about earlier, where I was like, it pissed me the fuck off at first. I was like, this is bullshit, like all this and that, and I would totally rank her low. But then when the fight finished up and I beat her, I was like, okay, no, that was really good. And then looking in hindsight, I was like, no, it was actually really great, and I was kind of being stupid about it for a while. I was trying to over rely on my tools. I was not positioning myself well at all for the, like, looking back on it, I was like, no, the boss was really great. I was just falling for it, you know? I was falling for everything it was taking advantage of. So yeah. Pale Stag. I didn't really got much to say about this guy. He's fine or whatever. Kind of like on the level of Skull Tyrant, right? Where you're just kind of like, they kind of have just a couple moves, and you just kind of hit them a bunch till it's over, and you just kind of move out of the way of whatever they're trying to hit you with, you know, whether. So I ain't got much to say on it. Clover Dancers, on the other hand, are really good. I like them a lot. I don't like them as much as Clockwork Dancers. They don't have. There's something about the Clockwork Dancers that just like makes it work so well. I think the whole Green Prince thing, like, it definitely has like those emotion. It definitely has the emotion there. It definitely has the story beats. Like, it has all that stuff, but it just doesn't hit as hard as the Clockwork Dancers. Clockwork Dancers. Actually, which one is that? I've been saying Cogwork, yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's Clockwork. Who cares? Same old potato tomato. Yeah. It just doesn't hit as hard. Especially because it's really kind of just like one large overarching phase. I know there's kind of like a thing in the middle, if I can remember, but like it seems like it's almost 2 phases, but like it's really kind of just one large phase. Whereas the Clockwork Dancers like really progressed as it went on with its multiple phases that just evolved throughout with that, and then ended up with that 4th sad phase. Whereas this one, you kind of just beat, you know, the Green Prince, and then, you know, that's it. I like the difficulty. I like how it improves, kind of like how Lace 1 to Lace 2, like it just takes the base kit and just expands on it and improves it just makes it harder. But I think it's just lower overall for me. And then finally, Lost Lace. This one's just really good. It's just a really good finale. I don't know what else to say. I beat this one earlier today. I got pissed a few times at it because it started feeling a little bit bullshit at the beginning of the 2nd phase, but then you kind of learn it a little, you lock it in, and then it just flow states, and it plays so well, and it feels really cool. And you have to play, and it's really interesting because there's a handful of bosses that make you play really aggressively, right? Like Lace 2, First Sinner, stuff like that. And there's also bosses that make you feel like an endurance test, right? Stuff like Sister Splinter or Last Judge or something like that, right? But Lost Lace strikes this crazy balance where it's an endurance test of aggressiveness. It's crazy. It's so intense and it's so hype and everything. And it's just so cool. And yeah, really good. I beat it earlier today within like, I don't know, like It was this Lost Lace fight I locked in easier than I did the Scar Singer fight. Like, I don't know what it was. Maybe I was tired during Scar Singer. I don't know. Anyways, but it was really good. Well, I yapped for longer than I thought it was. I was like almost like an hour of yapping just for this one tier list. But this is how I feel. I'm gonna go ahead and download this for myself. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that in a proper folder. Gonna name it SILKSONG Bosses, and we're gonna go ahead and put this in the pictures in the tier list results folder, but my other tier list results. All right. Wow. That was fun. That was good. I like talking about that, and I'm pretty confident with these. Let me take one last look over these, but I think most of them are in the positions that I want them in. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this. All right. It's already 3. I could do one more. I'll make this quick. Let me put these in area of when you discover them. So the muskrat at the bottom. Where's the Mara? Bottom. The Mara. Into Dupidox. Into Far Fields and Hunter's March, into Greymore and Bellheart. Then from Bellheart you get to Shellwood, and from Shellwood you get to Blasted Steps, and then you can also branch out here to the other places like Sinner's Road and Bywater. And then from there you can get to the Grand Gate, which is actually not on here. Oh, Wormways. I forgot to put Wormways on. I'll put them here after Far Fields. Oh, the slab, right? And the slab has to go kind of after Shellwood. No, I'll do it after Blasted Steps. Okay, I'm gonna start ordering from back to front now. I think, well, I guess I can go like Sinner's Road to like, I guess the Underworks, with the Coral Chambers, Cogwork Core, High Halls. Da 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 da. Mount Bay. What am I looking for? I guess the Cradle. We'll do Bywater actually after Mount Faye. And from there you can get a Putrefied Ducts. You also get the Mist after Sinner's Road. Coral Tower comes after Sands of Karak. You can actually do Sands of Karak. Before the Cradle, this is Act 3, Red Memory. White Ward goes here with Coral Chambers. That's Rudania. And Wisp Thicket comes here after the double jump of Mount Faye. Okay, I'm happy with this. Let's go. Alright. Let's go really quick. I don't have an F tier because I don't think there's an F tier area, although there's some that'll be in D tier. Let's see. Moss Grotto. Solid, just B tier, kind of like Moss Mother's. Good starting area, good things to come back to and backtrack to. They've got Weaveness Atla, they've got the hub, the Snail Shaman Shrine and all that stuff there. You've got a crest in there, you've also got a lot of late game stuff with the snails in there. Weaveness Alta, you kind of got to come back to. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it, so it's just really good overall. Bone Bottom, probably a little bit lower. It's really cool, like nice little town, but it doesn't really have much of anything in it. Marrow's also pretty good. Bell Beast, not really any great boss besides Skull Tyrant and all that stuff. Deep Docks is really strong, big area with a lot of cool stuff. You got Lace 1, you've got entrances to the Abyss, that really cool section coming out of the Abyss. The vibes in the whole place, I love the lava kind of factory vibe of the whole thing. You've got the upgrade for the sprint in here, just a lot of cool stuff. Hunter's March, lower C tier, just kind of annoying, a really weird placement of it in the world. I know it's supposed to be a later game area, but it's not very restricted off comparatively, you know, like I know it's to make it so that if you really want to brute force your way through it, you can, but it's home to Savage Beastfly, which moves it down. It also doesn't have a lot like that's really necessary in it, because everything cool that comes from the Hunter's March comes from the far fields, so it's like whatever. And speaking of far fields, this one just keeps getting higher and higher. It's got a lot of cool stuff. It's got the Songstress and the Heart Quest. It's got Fourth Chorus. It's got the Drifter's Cloak upgrade. Unfortunately, has Savage Beastfly too, which really sucks. But I think of that more as a Hunter's March byproduct than anything. So you know, it's whatever. It's got another Weave Nest off in the corner, which is nice. Yeah, it's fun to explore, and it's got a really cool vibe with the combination between these overgrown areas and lava combining together. Wormways kind of feel like whatever. They don't really have a whole lot to do in there. They don't really have a whole lot of extra stuff. They got the Plasmium, that's about it. They get plasmified later on, but like it only serves to be really interesting, give a few lore tidbits about Plasmium, but other than that, it doesn't do too much. Greymoor's really fantastic. It's huge, it's sprawling, it's got a lot of different bosses. You've got stuff like the Crawfather all the way to Moorwing. It's got a lot of exploring stuff, the Halfway Home and the other extra bosses and stuff it's got there. I mean, it's just really cool. Really expensive. It's got a lot of stuff in there. Bellheart is obviously up there. It can't go super crazy high, but you got boss fights like Widow. You've got a lot of good, and of course that's your hub. That's where your house is. You could get a bunch of quests and stuff like that. A Chakra hub as well, which like Chakra is some other. So yeah, I mean, it's just got a lot of good stuff. Shellwood is really good. I like it a lot. Just kind of, got a lot of good stuff, but nothing that really makes it stand out aside from like Sister Splinter. You got the Witch Crest, Witch Quests. You can get the Pollet Pouch tool. Just really cool. Blasted Steps is also really cool. I'll put it a bit above Shellwood here. Just kind of got a really cool vibe about it. Really cool traversal, little conch cone heads, move it down a little bit. You got the shop from Grindle there, which is kind of an important place to stop by every now and then. Yeah. Slab is really cool. We get captured, get put in there. It's got the, of course, for Sinner, really cool secret boss, but aside from that, there's really not much here to really talk about except for a few upgrades. Sinner's Road is kind of whatever. It's got maggot water, which sucks. It doesn't have a whole lot in and of itself there, but it's just kind of like a really good sprawling out point to get to other places from. The best thing it has there is to get the silk cocoons and to get those reses. The Mist is pretty cool, but it's really kind of not much of a whole area in and of itself. It's just kind of, you know, you get through in it, you get out of it, and that's it. Underworks, I like it a lot. It's really cool. The vibe of it though is just not my cup of tea, which keeps that at an A tier. And it doesn't drop a lot of rosary beats because everyone there is broken, underpaid, getting worked like slaves. But it's a cool little intermediary to work around, and then you kind of end up coming back to it to meet with the architect or kind of explore some further areas once you get some upgrades. Coral Chambers is just like chock full of like so much stuff. I'd probably put Greymoor above just because I think Greymoor has a little bit more, because the Coral Chambers end up getting divided into all the little subsections. But it's still so good. There's so much in there. I'm putting Bellheart on top. Fuck you. I love Bellheart. White Ward actually is gonna go here under the slab. It's fine, but it's kind of being spooky, which it's like, it's cool, but like it doesn't have a whole lot to go off of. It's got an annoying boss, it's got an annoying gauntlet, it's got 2 annoying enemies, and not a whole lot of stuff except the vibes and Sherma Quest. So, Songclave is cool, but it is no Belheart. Probably bottom of A. Clockwork Core actually felt kind of, it felt good, like cool, but like it almost, like I wanted it to be more, but like the music was really cool. I loved the parkouring section up to the top of it to get to one of the melodies. But the bottom half of Clockwork Core kind of was lackluster, to be honest. I was like, it's whatever, you know? High Halls, I could do without. It's just kind of got annoying enemies, and it's just kind of one big gauntlet in order to get all the way through and get to the conductor. That's about it. It's whatever though. Whispering Vaults are a bit better. Yeah, Whispering Vaults are a bit better. They just have a little bit more stuff to do, a little bit better of a vibe, and you gotta beat Throbbio to really get through it. So that's always a plus. Mount Faye. I really fuck with Mount Faye. I love the vibe. I love the parkour challenge to get up there. I love get parkour challenge against a mask maker, having the secret of Bright Vein. Like I just love the whole vibe of Mount Faye. It's so cool. Wiz Thicket is like, I don't know. It's like, what are you even doing here in this game? Biowater and Putrefied Ducks. I mean, I don't think I need to say anything. I will say though, Biowater goes on the bottom just because of how big it is. That's the only thing. Putrefied Ducks is smaller and has Fleetopia, which keeps it from being the lowest. But Biowater, just because of how big it is and how much you have to go through comparatively, it's like I'd rather take a walk through Putrefied Ducks and take a walk through Biowater, of course, because Biowater is so much bigger, which means you have so much more time and more area for it to be worse, right? Sands of Karak are really cool. Got a lot of cool parkour. Interesting way that the parkour like grows out of the coral and it's like time related. Yeah, I just think that's a really cool mechanic. So I put it back here. The cradle is whatever. Who cares? It's a tiny little area. It's only good to fight a person and then get through up to the parkour section up to the surface. The Abyss is really cool because of the lore implications, but not much else except for the final fight, which is fucking awesome. And I like the parkour section on the bottom right. Coral Tower is fucking gorgeous and has the best gauntlet and one of the best boss fights in the game. So absolutely up there. Lost Verdania is really fucking gorgeous and has Green Prince is really cool, but it's just kind of about there. And Red Memory's fucking peak. That shit is so good. And that's about, I went rapid fire on that, but that's about how I feel about the list. I could go in a lot more depth if anybody wants me to, or if you need me to. This is about how I feel about it, right? Those bottom three, I mean, obviously get knocked down because of Maggot Water, but also just because they're mostly just designed to be kind of a pain to get through. Sinner's Road is the highest because it's the least amount of pain, and because it's the easiest to get in and out of. Putrefied Ducks is just underneath, and it keeps up from the bottom spot by not being super huge, having a few quests that are kind of imperative, not really imperative, but like that are pretty good, like the Hunter's Quest, finding Vogue, and then of course being the home of Fleetopia. And then Biowater just ends up being at the bottom because it just takes the worst of both of them, but it's just so much bigger. Like I think if Biowater was smaller, Putrefied Ducks would be worse because Putrefied Ducks has worse enemies in there. But because Biowater is just so much bigger, it ends up just feeling so much worse, right? Everything in C tier is just like they're good, but like they just have their issues, right? Wiz Thicket is just kind of a nothing burger. Warm Waste is also kind of a nothing burger. The Mist is an in and out. Hunter's March is just kind of annoying, and just everything good about it is taken up by Far Fields. The Cradle is just a means to an end, and Bone Bottom, while having a little bit of charm, is just way outdone by Belheart and Songclave, and ends up not even existing at some point. So, yeah. High Halls, moving to B tier, High Halls just kind of has a bunch of annoying enemies, and it's really just kind of one big kind of gauntlet to unlock a door and get to the conductor. The Marrow is good, but it's just kind of Moss Grotto and the Marrow are just kind of the starting areas. And the Marrow is a bit lower because there's less to come back to, whereas Moss Grotto, you kind of come back to it every once in a while. The Marrow, you don't really have to all that often. I'm actually going to move this up above White Ward, which kind of, I said, it's got a spooky vibe, but it's very small. It kind of has an annoying boss and annoying enemies and not much else really going for it. Whispering Vaults has some annoying enemies, but it's a little bit better. You have to fight Throbio to really get through it, which is really good. And it's my favorite of the Throbio fights, you know, so yeah. Moss Grotto, just talked about that. The Slavish is really cool. The whole prison break sequence is really fantastic. It's really cool. Has First Sinner, which is really awesome. Otherwise, though, it doesn't have too much. And then Underworks just is like, it's not my vibe, and it's just kind of outdone by some of the other larger areas in the game that are up in the S tier. Moving up to A, the Abyss is here because it's got some really fun parkour stuff, as well as a final fight to being the finale of the game, and just all the lore implications of its existence and its reveal in Act 3 was really cool. Songclave is really nice and aged. It's got a lot of notable NPCs, a good shop, and just kind of a place that you'll be stopping a lot in Act 2 especially. Cogwork Core, the music is really good. The top half of it is phenomenal, but the bottom half leaves something to be desired. Sands of Karak is really cool. It has really fun parkour mechanics with the time-limited coral growing, but just doesn't make it up at the top. Deep Docks is really big, and you end up coming back to it. It has some good boss fights, has some good shops, has some good upgrades, has some good places to be in Act 3, some good sequences in Act 3, just ties it all together. And it places above Shellwood actually, which Shellwood is pretty good. You get the Witchcrest stuff, you got Sister Splinter, you get, what's the word I'm looking for? It also kind of ties in with Nihilith and Seth at the very top, even though it's not directly connected, but Grand Gate isn't on here for whatever reason. Lost Verdania is just gorgeous. It's super fun to explore. It's super fun to do all the little challenges in there to gather all the lights within the time frame. It's got some good parkour. It's got some challenging enemies to face, and it's really cool. Blasted Steps just has some really neat traversal, some really neat parkour. Just has such a fantastic vibe to it, especially for being the end of Act 1. Just feels so grand and impactful. Like a real final climb up to the Citadel. It's really good. And Farfields are top of A. It probably would have been like low A before, and then Act 3 happens and you get to a whole nother half of it, and it just opens up so much more. It's so cool. Just everything around the Scarsinger area is super cool. You get some you have some really cool boss fights with the fourth chorus, of course the aforementioned Scarsinger. You have the Drifter's Cloak upgrade and some other stuff in there, another Weave Nest. It's just really good, and I love the vibe of the melding between the greenery and the lava. And these top are all peak. Mount Fate, I love the vibe, I love the parkour challenge, I love coming back here every once in a while for a quest or something. Coral Tower has the best gauntlet with one of the best boss fights in the game, along with a phenomenal aesthetic. Coral Chambers is just huge and sprawling with so much in it, and so much to do, and so much to see, and so much to traverse. Greymoor is about the exact same. Red Memory just is so fucking peak and has some of the best lore, best looks in the game. And then Bellheart is just the fucking goat. So that's that. I'm downloading the image. We rename it. Let's see. Silksong areas. I'm gonna put you here and tier-list results. There we go. Alright. And that's that. So, next time that I'm here to yap, I'll be yapping about Mario Kart World tracks and back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks. I think I did a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe one several months ago, but I went back through a lot of them. My opinions might have changed for a lot of them. So, but aside from that, I definitely need to do a Mario Kart World one because I haven't done one of those yet. So yeah, we'll see. Anyways, that's enough for me. It is 3:30 now. I've been yapping for an hour and a half, and I got work tomorrow, so I'm gonna go to bed. So I will see y'all later. Good night. I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know if you agree or disagree with anything that I placed.